Today I'm going to be interviewing Robert Slocum. He was born on November 14th, 1943. He served in the Navy and was a third-class petty officer. This interview is being filmed in Caledonia, Michigan on May 30th, 2009. I am Nicole and I am the granddaughter of Robert Slocum. And this is being conducted for the Veterans History Project. That's it.
Oh, now I can go home.
Not quite. Where and when were you born?
November 14th, 1943,
Where?
and in Hastings, Michigan.
How many siblings did you have?
I had 3 sisters, no brothers.
So you're the only brother,
I'm
or
the only boy.
What were your parents' occupations?
Make sure he understands. You can record. You can redo something if you find you're fumbling or.
Yeah.
We can always edit it, and you can redo a question.
So we might want to start over?
Well, we can edit what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we need to start over? Start over with that question that I interrupted you on. But I'm just saying, if he feels like he wants to answer that question again or whatever.
Okay. Okay. What were your parents' occupations?
My mother was a seamstress and a cook. My dad was a supervisor for Berry County Road Commission, equipment supervisor.
What were you doing before you entered the service?
I was going to school.
Do you have any other family members that served in the military?
I have a nephew who was in the Air Force.
Were you drafted into the service or did you enlist?
No, I enlisted. I enlisted actually before I got added.
Okay. Where or no?
Wait a minute. I can see how I.
Just ask the question. Whenever you want to redo it, just re-ask the question.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that.
Were you drafted into the service or did you enlist?
No, I enlisted. I actually enlisted before I graduated from high school.
Why did you enlist?
I just thought it was a thing I needed to do. Not that I got in trouble or anything, but it was something I really wanted to do. I wanted the training, and that's where I could get it in the service.
What was early training like?
Well, early training, boot camp, that's not so nice, but you know, that kind of forms you as a person from then on. If you can put up with boot camp, you can handle life real well.
How did you adapt to military life?
First couple months when I was away from home, it was a lonesome thing. You didn't know a lot of people, and your family was gone. You were several thousand miles away from home. But after you got to know people and you got new friends, it was very good.
Where did you serve?
I was stationed in Davisville, Rhode Island. I was in the Navy, but it was called MCB-4, which were Seabees. But then I was stationed also in Argentia, Newfoundland, and also in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
What were your duties?
I worked as a heavy equipment mechanic, Company A.
What emotions did you experience?
Edit.
Okay.
What?
But it's like, I guess you could just say like loneliness, I guess. But maybe we don't even need to have that question because you kind of already said that.
Yeah.
And how did you adapt?
Emotions from being that far away from home.
Yeah.
Let's do that one. Go ahead.
Okay. You want to move on or you?
No, go ahead and let's do that one.
Okay. What emotions did you experience?
Well, being away from home, especially that far away at times when I was overseas, I enjoyed being away. I see new country that I'd probably never see before. So, although you could still communicate with your family through writing and phone calls, I thought it was a real good experience.
How did you stay in touch with your family and friends back home?
Well, to stay in touch back then, we didn't have computers or anything. So it was either phone calls or letters.
How did you return home?
A lot of times I flew home. I did have, when I was stationed in the States, I had my own car, but as a general rule, it was flying.
How were you received by your family?
I was treated very well. They actually thought it was pretty neat that I was in the service. And some of the stories I could talk to them about and things that went on in the service, you know. And with my nephew later on in life who was in the Air Force, and so we could, you know, relate back and forth of the different things that went on while we were serving.
How did you readjust to civilian life?
I was never in any conflict other than during the Korean or the Cuban crisis, which was not that big a deal for me. I think I adjusted well when I came back into civilian life.
Do you keep in touch with any fellow veterans?
I used to. One fellow I chummed around with a lot. I kept in touch for probably 15 to 20 years, but since then I have not talked to him or got a letter from him in a long time. And there is one other person that I do speak to once in a while who lives in Michigan in the northern part, and I see him every so often. So.
Are you a member of any veteran organizations?
No, I'm not.
How has these experiences affected your life?
I think in my own mind that every young person should go in the service. I think it's a way of building good self-esteem and learning about life, and I think it makes you a lot better person when you're done.
If there's one thing you can tell my classmates, what would it be?
If you have a chance, go in the service. There's a lot of reasons for that besides the training. You can get your education through the service. You may have to do a stint in the service, but you get your college education if you can't afford it. It's just a great way to go.
Thank you. Ta-da.
Cut.
We're done.
We're done. Oh my God.